Started, come to a seated position. Any seated position that you feel comfortable will do. If you choose to sit with your legs crossed, go right ahead. Get your spine tall. Lift your shoulders up, roll them back down your back. Allow your eyes to close and take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale out through your nose. Take another cleansing breath in through your nose. Let it all out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm. All your breaths should be in and out through your nose. Breathing through your nose gives added benefits in addition to cleaning and warming and moistening the air coming into your lungs. It helps you produce nitric oxide, which helps eliminate some viruses and organics that come in through your nostrils. And it helps get rid of them. Follow your breath here. Today, if it's similar to you as it is to me, the stress is really ratcheted up. Even though this political race is coming to a close, the pressure sure hasn't. And so I've selected poses that are going to be a little more yin and yang, so that you can use some of your muscular energy to help rid yourself of that stress. The whole class is not going to be yang poses, though. You'll get your usual fare of other yin poses. But follow your breath here. See if you can feel it coming in through your nostrils, through your sinuses, as it swirls around, going down the back of your throat. Notice what parts of your lungs inflate. Notice how you exhale. Do you exhale by squeezing your navel in towards your spine? Or do you just use your lungs, the upper parts of your lungs, to expel a little bit of air? The deeper cleansing breaths are a good way to instantly reduce the stress level, calm your nervous system, lower your blood pressure and your heart rate. It allows your muscles to relax. And if you have trouble sleeping, even doing a meditative breath or breathing will help you fall back into sleep. During class, use your breath to push away any thoughts of what might be coming after class, what you might be planning on eating, if you're planning to go to an election party. That's a frightful thought. But just increase your breath, let it all out, and begin again. And bring your mind back to the present. Witness how your body feels at this moment. There's precious little that we can do about what's happened in the past or what could happen in the future. So just letting go is a way to regain your control over your own life. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, open your eyes. The first pose is going to be dragonfly. So that's a straddle. And if you're on a block now, or if you're just seated right now, you can just bring your legs out. They can be wide or fairly wide. They don't have to be the maximum. Make sure you get your sit bones on the front of your block so it tilts your hips forward. Make sure you have some blocks available that you could, if you need to, place underneath your thighs or your ankles. From here, before you start, inhale your shoulders up towards your ears and then towards the back, having your shoulder blades kiss, and just let your shoulder blades drizzle down your back. This is the proper place for your shoulder blades, even when you're in a forward fold. So remember just that little bit of motion as you start to forward fold here in a moment. Try to keep your shoulder blades together and down as low as you can. From here, inhale, crown of your head up towards the ceiling, and then on an exhale, begin to forward fold. You can walk your fingers forward until you come to that first bit of resistance, and pause there for a moment and notice where you feel the tension. Is it mainly in your back? Or is it in your legs? Could be in your thighs, could be in your hamstrings or your groins, depending on the placement of your legs. Really doesn't matter. But if you want it to be in a different location, if you want more hamstring, maybe push your heels out a little bit farther. If you want it to be more in your back, maybe bend your knees a little bit. Your gaze should be on the floor somewhere in between your feet and a little bit ahead of where your mat is. You just don't want to stress your cervical spine, your neck. You have a bunch of options here. You can use a block to help your muscles soften. You can take a block and place it whatever elevation is proper for you, and just let it barely touch the back of your thigh or the back of your calf. You can bring your arms in toward each other, maybe bend your elbows. That will allow you to fold forward a little bit more and feel this a little bit more. Once your edge is achieved, that's where you can relax after you've stretched. Monitor where you are Maybe you can go a little bit farther, increase the stretch, and still be able to soften those muscles a little bit more. On the other hand, if you've gone too far and you still can't soften, just back up a bit. That is the mark of a smart yogi, knowing how to treat your own body to get the most out of it and to be the most compassionate. Listen carefully. On your next inhale, come up about halfway. Lengthen your spine. This time, bring your shoulders up towards your ears and then back down again. And then forward fold again, any bit more. And if you'd like to do something a little different, maybe bend your knees. Maybe your heels just come onto the mat. Maybe your whole foot does. Maybe you want to bring your hands out towards your feet. And by tucking your elbows underneath your thighs a little bit, or your forearms underneath your ankles, maybe that puts a little bit more weight on your back, lengthening your spine just a little bit more. But don't be pulling on your legs. And just allow your head to bow forward. And let gravity use the weight of your head as traction for your cervical spine. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin to walk your hands back. If you're on a block, carefully remove it. Bring your legs out in front, bend your knees. Bring your hands behind your hips, and then windshield wiper your knees from left to right. And feel how this simple counter pose brings relief to those muscles that were stressed earlier. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, just sit all the way up, and then swing. You come onto one hip or the other, swing your legs around behind, and come into table. We're going to do a couple of poses here that are going to require you being on your knees. You can always use a towel to cushion the mat so that your patella hangs over the front of the towel. But from here, do a couple of cat-cows to bring some synovial fluid to your spine. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, lift your right foot up, push your right heel all the way back onto that wall behind you. And then reach that left arm forward, karate chop your mat. And then inhale, lift your left hand up like you're going to shake Bob Dole's hand 24 years ago for winning the election. You're in spinal balance here. And this is a yan pose. You can feel your muscles working. And from here on an exhale, if you want, bend your elbow, bend your knee, bring them together in a crunch. Inhale, extend. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, extend. Crunch. And 5th time's the charm, one more. And extend all the way out. Now the next part is one of my favorite poses of all. It's awkward airplane. So your left arm goes out to the left, your right foot goes way out to the right. And then inhale back into spinal balance. Exhale out. Inhale forward. Exhale out, that's 3. You can stop at any time. And on your 5th one, from here, just lower your right foot down to the mat, bring your left hand onto the mat, and walk your hands back and come up on that left knee. So you're facing the front of your mat, your right foot is pointed straight ahead, your sole is on the mat, and your right leg is straightish. From here, again, take your shoulders up, roll them back, and from here, with your shoulder blades kissing, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling, gaze is ahead, and on an exhale, lean to the right, coming into a side bend. Now just breathe into your side body. And maybe you can come a little bit farther over into your side bend. Should be really feeling this in your left side, your left armpit. And if your left arm isn't agreeing with you, just bend that elbow, bring that arm behind your back to keep your shoulders in line. Then on your next inhale, straighten back up. From here, bring your hands to the mat, back into table. And again, do a few cat-cows here. Really use the pose to lubricate your spine. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, come back up onto your knees and grab your blocks. You should have 2 blocks. If you only have one, select it and put that by your right foot. I'll turn this around so you can see from behind. Stay where you are. And we're going to do camel. So to begin, bring your hands on the back of your hips up high. Your thumbs are coming toward each other. Your shoulder blades are kissing. If you were right up against the wall, your pelvis and your pubic bone would be pressed in. From here, arch your back just a little bit. And this is the start of camel. And if this is the maximum you can do, that's great. You can certainly stay here. If you'd like a little bit more, you can raise that right arm up towards the ceiling. And then bring that arm back around behind you and reach for your block or your heel, or maybe you need to raise the floor just a little bit. You can just curl your toes under. And then from here, get your shoulders level. You can gaze straight ahead, and that will gauge whether or not your shoulders are level. If it's easier for you to look up, by all means, look up and keep breathing. Soften your belly. And then on your next exhale, you can rise back up or just bend your knees. Bring your hips back down on top of your heels, coming into child's pose. Walk your hands forward. Bring your chest down towards the mat. Maybe your head can reach the mat, maybe not. You can always use a blanket, a towel, or a block to raise the floor. Here, try tucking your tailbone under. That will give your spine a little bit more length and round it at the same time. Breathe into your belly. And on your next inhale, walk your hands back. Bring your knees back under you and table. Do a couple quick cat-cows. And doing half camel on the other side. Rise all the way up onto your knees. Bring your hands onto the backs of your hips. Inhale your spine tall, gaze up, and then make a decision if you want to do more. Inhale that left arm up and bring that all the way over behind. You can come down onto that left heel. And if it's in your practice, maybe you can get both hands on the heel or both hands on a block. It's whatever is best for your body right now. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, you can either rise up or just bend your knees a little bit more, bringing your hips down onto your heels. Coming back into child's pose. If you want to accentuate that child's pose, make it into a frog. You certainly can. Just walk your knees out wider. Your feet don't have to be touching if you go into frog. This is just opening up your hips in a little bit different way. The child's pose has all these options. If your shoulders are aching, bend your elbows. You can always bring your hands back down by your feet or even underneath you, between your legs. Soften your glutes. Soften your groins. On your next inhale, slowly walk your hands back. Push the floor away, raising your chest, coming back into table. Do a couple of cat-cows here. And then to get you off your knees, just raise that right leg back again, like you did for spinal balance. Push the heel away, feel that hamstring stretch, and then bring that right knee behind your right wrist, coming into swan. So your right foot comes off towards the left side of your mat, and walk your left knee back. But keep your left toenails on the mat. To begin this pose, keep your arms straight and tall, and just let your hip be drawn down by gravity. You should not have any sensation at all in your knee. And if you do, you can always move that heel right towards the center line of your body, or you can move that right knee off to the right. Or you can go into deer pose if that works for you better, or into a reclining swan. Notice if your glutes are starting to soften here. Your glutes and your right hip socket are the targets of this pose. And then, if you wish, you can walk your hands forward, coming into sleeping swan, coming down onto your elbows or onto a block or a towel, whatever works best for you. You can always tuck a block underneath that right hip if it's not releasing for you. And don't be afraid of changing your position. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin to walk your hands back towards your hips, lifting your chest. When you are able, you can release that right leg towards the back, coming into table. Make some big circles with your hips, or you can curl your toes under and lift your hips up and back into down dog. And make sure you walk out your dog so that you can help your circulation in your legs. If you have tight hamstrings, try walking your feet way to the outsides of your mat. See if that helps. Try pushing your heels down. And then when you're ready, carefully lower your knees back down. Do a couple of cat-cows here. And on your next, and when you come to center, pause there. From there, take your left foot up and back, pushing that wall away with your left heel. Coming into spinal balance on the left side. Really get that hamstring stretched. And this time, karate chop with your right hand, your right pinky finger, and inhale, lift that hand up. This side may be significantly different than the other. That's okay. We all have our dominant sides and our weaker side. That's why we do both sides. And then on an exhale, crunch your knee to your elbow. And inhale, extend. Crunch knee to elbow. Extend. Crunch. Extend. Crunch. Extend. From here, awkward airplane. Right hand out to the right, left foot out to the left. Inhale back to center. Out to the side, exhale. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, awkward airplane. Inhale to center. Exhale, awkward airplane. Drop your left foot, right hand to the mat, and then walk your hands up. Your left foot should be pointed straight forward. Your left leg should be straightish. Bring your hands to your hips. From here, inhale that right arm up towards the ceiling. And then on an exhale, bring that left hand out to the left leg and slowly start to side bend to the left. Try to keep your shoulder blades together. You might want to look up at the eye of your elbow. And just breathe. This is really challenging. Breathe into your belly. For all side bends, I've always found that my organs want to get in the way. And the only way to get them out of the way is to diaphragmatic breathing. Your diaphragm pushes them out below your rib cage and gives you a little bit of relief. And on your next inhale, come back up. Bring both hands down to the mat again. Back into table. Do a couple of cat-cows. On an inhale, your belly drops, your chest comes forward, your sit bones lift and separate. And then on the exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone and your chin. And then at your own pace, slowing down your breath. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, lift that left knee up, left foot back, step on that back wall again, stretching that left thigh. You're stretching your left psoas, your hip flexors. And then on an exhale, bring that left knee behind the left wrist, coming into swan on the left. So your left foot is off towards the right side of your mat. Try to keep your arms straight as you walk that right foot back. And always be aware that you can tuck a block underneath your left hip. If you pause here in high flying swan or standing swan, you get more weight into that hip. And it comes down closer to the mat. And if your hip or your knee is objecting, you can always go into reclining swan, where you have better control over where you feel this pose. You can stay here, or if you'd like, you can walk your hands forward, coming down towards the mat. Maybe only your elbows reach. Maybe you can get your whole chest down. Again, it's what matters to you. Make sure you don't have feelings in that left knee, where you'll feel that for a couple of days. Just move that knee out and bring that left foot closer to your body center line. But if you can, just surrender all the weight of your chest into the mat or into a block. Then we'll put all of the weight possible into your hips and help relieve some of the stress that you're carrying around in your hip flexors. Because that's where you carry most of your stress, in your hips. As you were doing spinal balance, you were engaging your hip flexors to hold your leg up and out, and then stretching out to the side. And then this is allowing those same muscles just to give in completely. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly walk your hands back underneath your chest. Straighten your arms, lifting your chest. And from here, again, you can come into table if you wish. The next pose is going to be butterfly. So if you want to get there a little earlier, that's okay. You can also go into down dog. This is your practice, your choice. Your body that you have to take care of. And then carefully lower your knees. Come on to your sit bones. Bring your feet around to the front. Bring your soles of your feet together. And maybe rock a little bit left to right. Reach and grab onto the flesh and move the flesh off your sit bones. Inhale your spine tall. Tuck your chin in a little bit. And again, raise your shoulder blade, your shoulders up and back. Your feet don't have to be any specific length in front of you. But then on an exhale, forward fold, walking your hands forward. If you want to put your wrists underneath your ankles, you can. That will keep your shoulder blades low. It's a little more challenging, and it's not necessary. But you also use the weight of your legs to help your forward fold. Try drawing your collarbones towards the front of the mat. Your gaze should be straight down, either at your mat or at your feet. But know that putting your forehead or your chin on your feet is not the goal. The goal is to get the crown of your head as close to the wall in front of you as you can. And you get there by working on your collarbones. And then when you've reached as much as you can, just surrender. Feel your shoulder blades just begin to drift on your rib cage. Your head can fall forward. Your spine can round. Listen carefully. If you'd like to modify this a little bit, maybe moon the person behind you. And notice what happens to your shoulders and your collarbones. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly bring your hands back towards your hips. Raise your chest up. Use both hands to help both knees rise up. Move your toes aside. Bring your hands behind your hips. And then again, windshield wiper your knees from left to right. And if that doesn't feel quite right, maybe just widen your stance, widen your feet. It's always within your practice to make changes. So do so whenever it's necessary to find the right place for you. The next time you come to center, pause. From here, carefully come down onto your elbows and then all the way down onto your back. Stretch your heels forward. Lift your arms up towards the ceiling and then lower them onto the mat beyond your head. And push your palms away from your heels. Lengthen from your toenails to your fingernails. One more time. Then bring both hands back down by your side. Bend your knees and walk your feet up towards your sit bones. From here, lift your right leg up and put the footprint on the ceiling. And then bend that right knee. Bring your right thigh over the top of your left thigh. And if you can, if it's within your practice, for twisted roots, maybe you can tuck that right foot behind your left ankle. Maybe it doesn't work today. Maybe it's never worked, but maybe it will in time. Bring your arms out into T. And then from here, on an exhale, twist your hips to the left, trying to keep your shoulder blades down. With twisted roots, this really ties up your lumbar spine, so it's more difficult to twist. You actually end up with a bit of a back bend in this twist.
Oh, we're supposed to twist to the left. Okay.
Yeah, twist with your right leg on top. You'll find it a lot easier. Try to soften your glutes. Soften your inner thighs. Soften your lower abdomen. Soften your side body. Maybe you can take your right hand and bring it right underneath your ribs. And run your hand all the way from your spine around the front to your belly, into your hip crease, and then in the back. And feel your right glute, how much strain there is from this position. When you look at somebody doing this pose, it looks like their legs are doing all the work, but in fact, it's their hips. It's pretty hard to reach your left hip, but your left psoas and iliacus, they're both working hard to begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, carefully raise your knees back up to center. Untangle your feet and your legs. Maybe just lay on your back for a moment. Straighten out your legs. Push your heels away. Wave your feet from left to right. This is turning your femurs in your hip sockets. Your hip sockets were really working hard, as were your feet. Maybe open and close your toes. Flex your feet. Push your heels away. And then when you're ready, walk your soles up towards your sit bones. Raise your left foot up towards the ceiling. Bend that left knee. Bring your left thigh on top of your right thigh. And then maybe this side is easier, maybe this side is harder. Maybe one you can do and the other is merely a dream. Your body history has a lot to say about whether or not you can do this. Feel the stretch in your upper right thigh. You can cop a quick feel here. See how much tension there is in the front of that thigh. And then on an exhale, fold your legs to the right. Your arms are in T. You're not really trying to get your knees down to the mat because the tangle of your legs prevents that. But just being over there, having gravity help you is very useful. And again, begin to soften your glutes. Soften your thighs. Soften your inner thighs. Soften your lower belly. If you do Ashtanga, soften your Uddiyana Bandhas and your Mula Bandhas. Those are the lower abdomen between your navel and your pubis and your pelvic floor muscles. Maybe you can feel your knees have been drawn down closer to earth. Maybe take that left hand and just feel those muscles on your left side. How much work they're doing. And by just touching yourself, touching those muscles, you're giving them permission to release. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly return your knees toward the ceiling. Extricate your feet and your legs. And then just lay them down and feel for the first few moments how different each foot feels, how each calf feels, each knee, each thigh. Can you feel the blood coursing through your arteries? Maybe one foot feels warmer or cooler than the other. And then bend your knees, walk your feet up towards your sit bones again, just placing your feet on the mat. And from here, windshield wiper your knees from left to right. Notice your hip sockets. Do you have any residual sensation? They've been doing an awful lot of work. And then the next time you come to center pause, draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Your knees can be in close together or wide apart. That will probably depend on the last poses. And rock again, maybe make big circles on the ceiling. And then go the opposite direction. And the next time you come to center pause, from here, release one leg down to the front corner of the mat. Then release the other leg to the other corner. Bring your arms up towards the ceiling and onto the floor beyond you, and just stretch. Your 5-point star. Feel your joints expanding. And then return your arms back down by your sides. If you want to walk your shoulder blades underneath your chest, you're welcome to do that. Maybe rock your hips a little bit left to right to find the perfect spot on your mat for your sacrum. Tuck your chin in a little bit, lifting your head, stretch it out, place it down. And then take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale it all out through your nose. And another deep cleansing breath in through your nose. Exhale it all out through your nose. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring small movements to your fingers and to your toes. And then to your wrists and to your ankles. Slowly getting your body ready. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Push your hips towards the front of the mat, your shoulders towards the back, and rock from left to right, massaging your entire spine. And then coming all the way over onto your right side, using your right arm as a pillow. Pause there for just a moment and do a quick body scan. And notice if you have any more tension any place in your body, so that the next time you practice, you can pay particular attention to those areas that are resistant. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away and rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me this afternoon. Today has been very stressful, but the last 4 years have been even more stressful. If you got invited to the White House victory party today, don't worry, you can still say no, because the results aren't going to be known for a few days. So go on Thursday instead, or maybe just skip it completely. Use the strength of your practice and your compassion and the peace that you find on your mat, and share it with everyone you meet, especially your family and your friends. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Ashtanga Yoga. No, it has been Yin Yoga.